We just got 3 minutes, and we're going to turn it over to the audience. Ryan, you know, we all the old job interview. Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be? What is your company? Do you outline that where you want to be in 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 years?
Yeah, we do. We actually created a strategic vision for our company, and you know, I joke about wanting to make whiskey, and it is real. But we've realized in the alcohol business, and this could be a lot more than 3 minutes, so I'll try to keep it quick, but there's a three-tier market, and we have to sell to a distributor who sells to a retailer who sells to a consumer. Our products have a lot of demand at the consumer level, but I have to convince a distributor to carry our product and a retailer to carry our product, and I don't sell the product to the consumer. I just get a nice email afterward, or I see them in a cocktail bar or something. That's about all. You know, I can't just sell them a bottle of gin. And we realized that we have to be able to market to a consumer, and we're quite good at that because honestly we make products that we love and they love them too. So there's no disconnect there, other than I've got to sell to a distributor who's a little more focused on gross margin and a little more focused on, are you going to do the work or am I going to do the work? And you know, it's a different dynamic. We have to be able to market to them as well. We quickly realized that you know, the number of distilleries now, it was, you know, when we started, it was, I think, 300 nationally, and now it's something like 1,800. It's following a very similar curve to the breweries. Distributors' books are full, as they say. You know, they only want so many products, they only want so many gins. You have to provide something that's different, compelling, and quite frankly, you have to make some indirect sales before they're going to carry it. We realized that early on and said we need to set our tracks on distribution right now because the distribution windows are closing. The consumer thirst is about to excel. So we shifted our plan from let's diversify our product portfolio and add whiskey and brandy and all these things that are really fun. We want to make them. But first, let's focus on gin. Let's build a distribution network with our gin. And then when we come out with whiskey, we're going to say, you know, hey, Mr. Distributor, thank you for carrying our gin, thank you for doing so well. Can I send you a pallet of whiskey? And they're going to say, yes, of course. So we shifted our model to, we want to be in 50 states by 2020. We call it Vision 2020. And we're on that course. We're in 32 states now, plus 5 countries. So we're right on schedule for it, but it's getting harder as we get closer because every day those distributors are a little tougher to get into.
Great. Now it's time of we've got 2 microphones, so if people want to ask questions, go to those. And I think Ted Brady wanted to ask the first question because he's going to. You were out of the room, Ted, when you agreed to match everything that was raised here earlier. Were you around for that? So.
Hold on.
All right. All right, Ted. All right, Ted.
Just talk loudly. I will just talk loudly while the microphone is fixed.
All right, here it comes.
A quick question for a really quick response from each panelist would be great. Do you think there's anything that we in Vermont have done that facilitated the deal you were able to make to transition your business well or poorly? So we as a state, what did we do to help you? What should we have done to help you with this that first transition that you've been able to accomplish?
Are there any, the regulatory things?
I think that in our business and how we position the company, the brand was very, very important to the sale and the core values of the business, what we did with B Corp, open book management, the farms, and it was very compelling for the buyers. We had 3 European buyers who absolutely love Vermont. It reminds them of Europe, and we had a Canadian suitor. I mean, Vermont was very important to them.
Anyone wants to? Are there any, tax laws that really made it difficult for you? No. Okay. Well, that's good to hear. Yes.
I'd like to just chime in on that. In Vermont, we can sell, I just told you about the distributor challenge. In Vermont, we can go to up and sell in our retail room right at the distillery. You can come to the distillery and buy a bottle of gin directly from us. And there is an additional tax to that, but it's a lot less than a distributor margin and a retail margin. So you can buy a $35 bottle of gin from us that we would normally sell for $18 to $22 to a distributor. So those sales are incredibly impactful for us, and we legally can't discount it. So we're not bad guys. That's the rule. But then additionally, Vermont allows us to go to the Burlington Farmers Market, the Waitsfield Farmers Market, the Stowe Farmers Market, and we call it a remote tasting room. And this is legal. Honestly, this is not like some backdoor moonshine stuff. So we're actually in the Burlington Farmers Market, and we have all these people coming through from Montreal saying, I was in Boston for the weekend, I stopped at the Burlington Farmers Market, how do I find this in Montreal? And we're able to tell them you can go to the SAP liquor store, and we're in Montreal. So it's been incredibly impactful for our company because those farmers markets are filled with people not from the state, just appreciating the state. So it's built our brand much further than where we are here. So.
All right. And a question towards the back.
Thank you, everybody, for an incredible morning and conversation. I'm a workforce developer in southern Vermont, and I'm also an entrepreneurial workforce developer. So how realistic is it for us to try to get potential employees in front of the owners of the corporations and the businesses instead of the HR department? Because listening to all the stories, like, I want to work for everybody. So I want to create that same excitement for the businesses in southern Vermont. And sometimes, talking to HR departments is great. They talk about policy, they talk about the jobs that are available. But I really believe that they hear the stories of the businesses and how they got started, that would create a new passion. So how realistic is that thought?
Well, sir, in the case of our company, any candidate for a job is always talking to the hiring manager. There may be some of the process goes through the HR department just as more for the communication management, but it's the hiring manager that evaluates candidates, makes a decision about employment, and I'd like to think that all those people do have, share the spirit of what Harpoon stands for, what it means, and in turn can get the candidate excited about the opportunity to work for us.
Allison?
I would say that for us, on the onboarding process, we spend some time telling the story for employees, but of course, we've got to get them there first. Becoming a B Corp was a really important recruiting tool for us. I mean, many times I found myself, I thought, now, who's interviewing who here? Like, am I interviewing, So, and I think that employees, the workforce today, is in a position to be much more choosy about where they work. And so companies really have to step up with benefits and improve wages just to try to attract people. But it is a challenge that as you grow, the founders become less involved in the HR process. And so whether it's open book management, you've really got to think about ways that to engage your workforce in the things that you believe in. And I really noticed that a lot when I sold the business, because when you're in it and you're the person and it's your values, you don't notice it as much until you step away, and then they all come to you and say, oh, we need you to come to the office, we need you to be there, we need you to be with us. So it's something to really, I wish I were more cognizant of that in the process.
Thank you. Any other question out there? Right over there.
Hi, thank you, Albert. Thank you here. A question for you about your advisory board. I believe you spoke to the advisory board. There's a head down taking some notes. We have an advisory board, informal. It's been great. It's been a few years now, and within my specific the business, we have more experience than any of them. They're all storied entrepreneurs who have great success in their fields, some of which are food-oriented or beverage-oriented, but not specifically food service. And I started to wonder, at what point do we refresh the board? Do we bring new people in? And should I have people who are more like very specifically aligned with food service or whatever industry you want?
That's a great question. So one of the things to remember is that you are not married to these people, and you will outgrow them, is the reality of it. So with my initial board, I took them out for a great dinner, we toasted everything that we had done, and about halfway through that, they're like, "Are we fired?" I'm like, "Yes, as a matter of fact, you are." And so what will happen as you grow, you're going to outgrow this board. And I kept a couple of them on because there was great value in the continuity of it. And then I brought on people who were more specifically related to what I was doing. And so, the whole idea of an advisory board is that it's to help you, right? So if you're not getting the help you need, take them out, toast them, say goodbye, and start over again. And and just keep doing that because as you grow, you're going to need different things at different stages of your development. There's a big cliff that happens. So what happens for us and most entrepreneurs is when you get to about 8 million in sales, you fall into free fall. And nothing works the way it used to work before. And it's pretty classic. I didn't know about it, but we got there, and I knew I needed help to get through that. And so that's when I made the transition. And so just know that you can get the help you need around you, and don't worry about it. They're all going to be your friends, and they helped you, in the way that they did for the time that they did.
One here, Anthony.
Okay.
Yes, good morning. My name is Andy, and I'm from Boston, and we are funders and investors in the food space. Great stories by all of you. Thank you. It seems every day I read stories in the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, or elsewhere about the way in which millennial consumers are disrupting companies like Monsanto, McDonald's, Coca-Cola, and Tyson. So for any one of you who would be care to react, what excites you about this movement? What worries you the most about it?
I could speak to that. I think it would be safe for me to say that Land O'Lakes, their primary customers in their mid-60s, and their physicians are all telling them to not eat butter. And they would put butter in our fridge growing up, and they really don't have any experience in selling to millennials. And so their interest in Vermont Creamery was buying a company that was nimble, that was selling to this market and responding to the needs of that age group. So it's exceedingly challenging to educate a company like that, a CPG company that's been in the business for a very long time, doing things one way. On the other hand, being on the inside and being able to influence a certain way of thinking and being strong with, sticking up for what we created and defending the brand and helping them understand how we do things, it can be very gratifying.
So I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm in a food startup. Can't believe I am, but I am. One of the things that we think about a lot is the millennial generation, and one of the things that I recommend is hire them and listen to them. Because there's a lot that we can learn from that generation, especially the new business I'm in is very tech-centered and very internet-centered. And so having that expertise on board, folks who are just completely immersed in this world, just bring them on, and I recommend it to everybody. That generation is just a blast to be around. Some classic things are not brand loyal, which is interesting as we try and figure out how do you maneuver in that space. But for me, at least right now, I just try and hire as many folks in that generation and listen to what they have to teach me.
Great. We have, I think, one more question. Oh, you want? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm admittedly a millennial, but try new things, and this is a real, we have a hard time. The hardest customer for us is the guy that says, I know gin, I love gin, I've been drinking it since the 60s. I go, oh gosh. I pour them some and it's like 50-50, but if somebody says, I hate gin, I wanted to put it in my mouth, get that stuff out of here, I had a terrible experience 10 years ago, I go, great, you gotta try it because you're gonna buy it. And they try it and they say, I'll take this, change the way I thought about gin, but millennials are apt to try something new. So, I mean, we're riding the wave of millennials.
I think there was a question here. John?
I'm John Mandeville, I'm the executive director of the LEDC in Morrisville. Some of you may be aware of the fact, I'm doing a plug, but it's a plug that fits in very well with this. The LEDC for quite a number of years has put on a series of workshops called the Business Skills Workshop Series. I personally probably have over 35 years of experience in business consulting, business coaching, you name it, in many different capacities. One of the most difficult things to do, and when some of you have alluded to this, is business valuation. When you come to the point to where you're going to sell or you're going to do something else. We're putting on a workshop in March on business valuation. It's a 3-hour workshop. Anybody's interested, let me know. It's being facilitated by the Silva Group out of Burlington, which is probably one of the best in the state.
Thank you, John. Janet, you have a question?
My question is for Ben. Ben, it sounds like you have 3 family members and 3 employees. Family farm.
Yep.
Which I think a lot of these other speakers are very helpful, but I think we also need to think about the different configuration and the different needs of a family farm. Would you think that an advisory board would be helpful for you, or would that just be cumbersome?
I don't think so. We have got advice from people. Glenn Rogers, he's retired now from UVM Extension, he's helped us a lot with projections and things we wanted to expand or what we wanted to do. But no, I don't think a whole advisory board is really necessary for what we're doing.
The reason I asked is I'm also a family farm, and I've been listening and thinking maybe an advisory board would be helpful. But I'm trying to think of how my husband and I would have an advisory board. We're sort of our own advisory board, but that doesn't mean that's the right thing to do. So I was really.
I agree with our own advisory board. I think it'd be hard because, especially since every dairy farm is or any farm is so unique and different than maybe their neighbors or somebody. Even if you produce the same product, you have a different way of going about it. I don't know if it lends itself to an advisory board.
Thank you.
I think we have a question over. Thank you, Janet.
I'm Don Janison with the Vermont Employee Ownership Center. Of course, this story warms my heart. But I've learned in my years of promoting employee ownership that it's really not a good idea to proselytize to anyone. And understanding more and more of the variables that face, sellers in those situations, I've become very humble. Ownership succession is the point at which employee-owned companies happen. So, in the interest of getting more business owners to think about employee ownership, we've put on a series of seminars on ownership succession of all sorts for small businesses. And I just want to make sure that people know about that. Sometimes we call it In Search of a Good Exit. And it talks about really all the ways that a small business owner can sell. And we don't preach employee ownership, but we do put it out there. And we feature stories told either live or on video from business owners like yourselves. And next one's coming up on November 7th in Brattleboro, and we just did one last week in Montpelier. So please be on the lookout for that, and let me know if you're interested in getting on our list.
Thank you. All right. We got one more? Oh, yes.
Does this work? Yeah. So I just wanted to ask each person briefly, whether you're the buyer or the seller or transitioning to a new structure, what was the one thing when you were going through this process that kept you up at night?
For us, it was the debt. We really had to lever up to get enough cash to buy out the selling shareholder.
Yeah, I think for me, would we, as as much as in the selling process, we put a large emphasis on our company culture, values, brand values. Once you sell, you don't get to have a say in that anymore, really. And sometimes buyers will tell you whatever you want to hear. So really trying to check, you can't check all the boxes, so I would stay up at night thinking, okay, which are the most important boxes to check? And, you know, have I picked the right one?
For me in the process, it was like being in a crucible. Part of it was that I was going through due diligence with Ernst & Young, which was just brutal. But at the same time, I was not public about what we were doing because I felt like it was really important to not let everybody in on what was going on until I could answer the question, what's going to happen to me? Which is, I got that advice from the person that ran my deal, but we need to know the answer to what's going to happen to me before we put this out there. And so trying to be the CEO of my company, at the same time having a war room, I hate that phrase, but we had a room at a hotel that was just full of all of our due diligence. And that pressure in that was really tough to try, because I wanted to be, you know, we spent so much of our company life being transparent, open book management, open door, all that kind of stuff, and it was really tough on me, but I know that it was ultimately the right decision because once I was able to say what's going to happen to me, I could answer what was happening in the company. And so the one time I broke that rule, I lost the employee, and so I really learned that was important, and that pressure was a lot. And also, I just want to say that as you go through this, it takes way longer than you think it's going to take. Allison's story, I think, is kind of unique in that it didn't take quite as long, but for all the stories that I've seen, it takes longer than you think it's going to take to go through the whole process.
I think the biggest concern I have and still have is our dairy farm has always had 3 primary owners, one to handle each different of the 3 different aspects of the business. And right now it's funneling from 3 owners down to 1 owner and trying to not spread myself too thin and be able to cover all the different aspects.
For me, I think it's how do I preserve the passion and love for distillation and also continue to grow the company. You know, sort of separating the distiller from the president, and that's definitely been a learning curve. And there are days where I don't even step foot in the distillery. And I'm thankful that I have an incredible team that really out of the distillery. But you know, I bought the business because I love the business. I love the craftsmanship behind making the products, and I want to make sure that I never lose sight of that as I continue on in leading this company.
Okay, final question over here, Eric.
Hi, Eric DeLuca, Leverage Point Consulting. I chair the farm-to-plate financing cross-cutting team that brings together other capital providers, and also its task force, Slow Money Vermont, that connects local impact investors with Vermont working lands entrepreneurs. A couple of things that I felt morally obligated to mention. One was on the topic of advisory boards, the financing cross-cutting team is in process on a webinar focused on the hows and whys of advisory boards, so stay tuned on that. And then there's a tough question that I kind of hear asked in the shadows a lot, and so it's kind of directed at panelists for whom it's relevant, but how is it good for Vermont when a successful Vermont business becomes owned by an entity outside of Vermont?
Yes, sir. I think that for us, with the assurance that the manufacturing would stay in Vermont, that the milk supply would become more local to Vermont. Right now it is in Vermont and Quebec and Ontario. You know, Land O'Lakes doesn't transport milk in that way. That sort of surprised them. And that the workforce would grow in Vermont. That, you know, there would be attention to improving wages, benefits, hiring more people. Those were compelling for us to stay in Vermont, and picking a strategic buyer, somebody who's in the business, a company that's owned by farmers. We felt they had an intrinsic understanding of what we do. Private equity scared us a little bit because they had some expectations that if you didn't meet them, it could be difficult. So we didn't have those strategic buyers in Vermont who were interested in buying the business.
Anyone else want to tackle that one?
Well, for us, I just want to say that if you don't go so far on bootstrap bank, that was the reality of it. And so what was happening, we were getting squeezed from all directions. Our health insurance bills were going up. We had these huge customers, huge suppliers. We just kept getting squeezed and squeezed, and we had to be a bigger company, is the reality of it, in order to have the clout to buy with any kind of scale. And so we were so squeezed that we weren't able to give raises. We pay livable wages, and we have great benefits from our company. But the rate that our health insurance was increasing, we weren't able to then turn around and give raises. So we needed to be a bigger company, and we needed the cash to come in to be able to make that happen. If I had, and I just thank whoever for the timing of my exit, because I don't know if you remember, but a few years in 2000, when the financial crisis happened, I would not have survived that. But because I had the big pockets of the firm that I sold to, we were able to come through that. Not only did financing stop completely, which would have killed me, but the price of wheat went through the roof. And so I know that the only reason I still own my house today is because I exited when I did and got the partner to help me get through that. And so that was more my thinking, is that I couldn't give my employees what I needed and wanted to be able to give them unless I was a larger company. And ultimately, I think it was the right decision. The jobs are still there. Could I have done it with different financing potentially? But I didn't see any of that on my horizon at the time that I made my exit.
Well, thank you very much. I think we've run out of time, but first of all, thank you for your participation today. This is a $1,000 workshop we've just gotten right here. I mean, this is really, really important stuff that will help all of us in the audience and the people that they serve as well. And thank you for what you've done for the state of Vermont, both now and in the future. We can't underestimate what you've done for us and continue to do for us, so thank you very much.